Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Finding Your Joy show. Paula Vail here. I am really excited to share a fascinating young man we have with us today, Charles Wiley. Charles has been writing music and playing drums for over 25 years. He currently lives in Southern California and plays with various bands and artists, including award-winning singer-songwriter Kris Angelis and rock bands Darkhorse Rising and Ryatt. In addition to playing drums, he also writes music for television. His music has been played on Oprah, Dateline, NBC, Late Night, and Seth Myers, The Dr. Oz Show, The Young and the Restless, and more. Charles, you are so fun. I love it. You're so fun. I want to say welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
I am just thrilled and honored. Please share with everyone, expand on that background and what made you choose the path you're in and where you're at now. How did you find your passion to where you're at, Charles?
Well, it has to go back to being a child. As a kid, my dad played guitar, still plays guitar, and it's funny, he's retired now, but he teaches more guitar lessons to kids now than he ever did while we were kids, it's great. But music was always around the house, and I never, music was always there. So when I would go to friends' houses and things like that, I'd be like, they don't have music going on all the time. And my dad had a little recording studio in the house with a drum set, guitar, all that stuff. And it was just normal for me and my older brother to just play, just to jam. And my older brother started playing guitar. And since him and my dad both played guitar, I was like, oh, I don't want to play guitar. No, I can't be like them. So I just went to the drum set in the corner and just started playing. And from there, that's kind of where my passion for music took off. And now we, fast forward 25 years. And for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been a full-time touring musician, working musician in Los Angeles. I get the great joy of touring around the world, playing with different artists, different bands, and helping their creations kind of come to life.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, tell us what inspired you to write your great corn project.
Well,
The Corn Man. I love it. I mean, it is the funnest book.
Well, thank you so much. Really, what started it about 6 years ago, my wife and I wanted to just learn more about what's in our food, get a little healthier. So it started with the documentary Forks Over Knives and, eating a plant-based diet and all of that. From there, I don't know why, but I picked up this book called Foodopoly, written by Winona Hodder, I think is her name. She's the founder of Food and Water Watch. They do a lot of activism stuff, purifying, cleaning up water. But anyway, I bought the book, didn't read it, but I got a gig on a cruise ship for 3 months, and I was in the party band. So I took the book with me, and for some reason, I would start taking this book with me to lunch. And the book was about the consolidation of the food market and factory farming, and kind of ran the gamut. But I'd be reading this book, and I would get sick to my stomach reading about how pigs were treated, or cows were treated, or chickens were treated, or how there was corn and everything. And honestly, I would just stop eating. I lost like 15 pounds on that gig because the bandmates were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I can't do this anymore. But oddly enough, corn was the thing that stuck out to me. That corn was in virtually everything we eat, and I couldn't put my finger on why. And nothing wrong with corn, the vegetable, corn on the cob, corn, that stuff's fine. But as a cheap filler in all of these foods, and what it does to livestock, and how cows can't digest it and it makes them sick, and how that's leading to health problems for us. So long story short, I decided I want to do something about this. I felt like I was blindsided by this. Like, how did I not know this? How are more people not talking about it? So I decided I want to create a project that'll get people involved, families and kids involved with the food they eat. And I created the Corn Man Project. I wrote the music first, and then my wife and I wrote a children's book to accompany that. It's 3 chapters long. Chapter 1 is out on paperback already. That's what you have. Chapter 2 is out in the ebook form, but the paperback version of that will be coming out later this year. And then we're going to wrap up the project next year with chapter 3, paperback, more music, the whole 9 yards.
I love it. I love it. Because that is, you know, it's true. It's not talked about. And, you know, that is in our food.
No, it isn't.
Corn is everywhere.
It's so true. You're so right. You're so right. And there have been great books. I mean, Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, did a really, really good job talking about it. These 2 guys wanted to grow corn and see where it went, and you know, so there is the information out there, but just like you said, it just gets swept under the rug. You know, why? Who cares that it's in everything we eat? You know, and it's like, well, there's a lot of reasons to care. You know, I mean, 10% of corn grown in the U.S. in 2018 was purely for ethanol use alone. So you grow this crop just to burn it. You know, 30% was for livestock feed. You know, and it goes in all of this stuff. And the way your body breaks down corn is different than, say, a regular sugar. So that more and more research is showing that's leading to the rise in diabetes, type 2 diabetes, especially in kids, obesity. So it's kind of a health crisis. And, you know, a lot of people are looking in different directions. And I understand everyone's busy, everyone has their things going on, but it's right there in front of us. I mean, all you need to do is go to the grocery store, start checking those food labels. And that's one of the goals with the project, is I want to get people to start checking those food labels. And just, you know, I mean, I created a word search that is all different names for corn, and there's over 56 different names for active corn ingredients in food today. So, you know, that's even the crazier thing. You're looking, you're like, well, it doesn't say high fructose corn syrup, or it doesn't say corn this, but you know, citric acid is, you know, a corn derivative. You know, it's like, so all of this stuff is it's just fascinating and perplexing at the same time.
So, Charles, do they give the corn all these different names to kind of fool us and disguise it?
You know,
why would there be so many names?
Well, I don't want to be the one to say, well, I would say partly that's true. You know, I mean, there was a big push a couple years ago by the corn industry to get it renamed, to not call it high fructose corn syrup anymore, because, you know, they had a bad connotation with it. And, you know, sometimes too, these sweeteners, corn in particular, is kind of a catch-all scapegoat for this stuff, but it's an important scapegoat because it really hits home the point of how we are getting more and more disconnected to what we eat. And that is one of the things that I want to help bring back with the project is, you know, I want everyone to reconnect to the food we eat. I mean, it blows me away that my grandparents, you know, had some fruit trees and some vegetables grown in their backyard, you know, 50, 60, 70 years ago. And now that's virtually non-existent in a lot of places. They look at you like you're nuts if you grow your own food. Like, what, you can't afford to go to the grocery store? It's like, wait, how did growing food and farming get this bad connotation? It's like, it's what keeps us alive. Shouldn't we be vested in what we're putting in our bodies?
Yes, yes. So this project really is out there to really help everyone to open up their awareness and maybe give them some thoughts and some facts of what we really aren't looking at.
Right. And for myself, I can only speak to my own experiences, but I don't I don't like the feeling that I'm trying to be belittled or talked down to. So I wanted to put Corn Man in a way that I think putting my head on a stalk of corn drops people's defenses, so they instantly, the the fear goes down, the attacking goes down. Because whenever you talk to people about, things that they might not be doing, they can get a little defensive. And that's how I feel. So I was like, how can I do this in a way that is funny, but the message is serious? The music is, serious in its own way, but how can I do that? So that's why I came up with, I had a buddy of mine draw me on a stalk of corn. And since we are videoing, here's the book there.
Yeah.
And the shirt here, which...
Oh, that is so cute. Oh.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
My granddaughter loved the book. So
oh, that's great.
Grammy doesn't have it. I was hoping you'd show it today.
That's great. Well, and the thing is, it gets people talking. They see that and they're like, what is this? What is this project? Why is this guy doing that? And to me, I want everyone to go on their own journey, because my journey is going to be different than your journey or anyone else's. And to me, there is no one size fits all answer, but I want the awareness to start. So if it could start with checking the food labels, maybe buying, making healthier choices at the grocery store. And then I would love to take that to growing your own food. I really want to start partnering with cities for community gardens and making that a bigger part of the community. I live in an apartment, so I'm growing some kale and lettuce on the back stoop there, but people are like, well, how much? That's going to get you one meal, right? It's like, probably, but if I don't start small, how can I expect this thing to get big? And just imagine if everyone grew a little bit of their own food. We're just going through a pandemic where people freak out, rushing to the grocery store for supplies. Imagine if we didn't have to rush to the grocery store for so many supplies. You could say, hey, I have apples. My neighbor has oranges. Here's a basket of this. Here's a basket of that, and I think it'll get the communities more involved, the neighbors more involved, and overall build a stronger tie to our food and a bigger bond as a community.
Yes. And really, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to grow some of our own food. It really is.
You're absolutely right. And one thing for me, it's kind of hard too, because it's like I've killed so many things I've grown, or bugs get them, or, and I think to myself, it's like, that's an important message, because growing is hard. It's like we don't know the lives these farmers have a lot of the time, and the amount of hours they put in, taking care of this stuff. And, here I am growing a little bit of stuff, and 50% of it dies after 2 months, or I'm just like, oh my, so that's your living, that's your job, that's a big responsibility, so.
Yes, and they're dealing with things they can't control, such as weather.
Right.
All of that. I have so much respect for farmers. I really
me too.
do.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. So that is the crux of the project. It's the children's book, the music, and the shirts, and the like of that. And what I've been doing is trying to get the word out. People like yourself have been so gracious and kind to have me on your show to talk about the project. But I go to schools and I'll read the book there and take some questions, play some of the tunes off the record as well. And that's the goal. I just want to start spreading the word, getting it out there. I just released the audiobook for it. It's on YouTube. It's free. But I read the book, and I have a soundtrack that goes behind that as well. And you can find all of that stuff at charleswiley.net/cornman. And so that's where we are with it.
Well, I'm excited about the music. And everyone, we are going to attach some of the music to the end of the show.
Yes.
So what's that like? I have to ask you, to create music the way you do, that has to be so fun, Charles. And what was it like to create music for the Cornman Project? Wow.
Well, it is fun, and it's interesting because my primary instrument is drums, but I also play piano, and that's where I write all the music from. But I've always been attracted and drawn to sound, the sound of certain instruments, the sound of certain music. It pulls me in. And when I get excited by that, that sparks the creative process. That sparks the, where can I go with this? And it instantly conveys a mood, a feeling, an emotion. And to me, the job of an artist is to spark conversation and to hopefully inspire. And in order for that to happen, obviously the artist needs that spark and creativity. So it always goes back to sound for me. I always come across a sound that I'm like, oh, I really like this piano sound or this organ sound or this synthesizer sound. Like, where can I go with that? But when I work on music for television, that's a whole different ball game, because they tell you what you want. They tell you what they want. This is your guideline. So you need to write within this box. And that's a totally different challenge. Sometimes a lot easier, because, when someone tells you, what do you want to eat? We can go anywhere you want. You're like, oh gosh, that's a big, I don't know. But, your two choices are A or B. You're like, I do A. That's fine. It's like, so sometimes less choice really focuses the mind. So it's good to exercise both muscles.
Yeah. Oh, how fun. And the way you put this together, I mean, your Corn Man project is really something, out there to help people and help all of us to just, okay, wait a minute, let me think about this.
Right.
How much corn is in my foods? Okay, what do I want to put in my body? I mean, you really are sharing a powerful message, but you're doing it in a really fun way.
Thank you.
Very unique.
Thank you. And that was the goal with the project. And I couldn't have done it without the help of Andy Westoff, the artist who drew all the illustrations for the book and the shirt, and my wife, who co-wrote the book with me. Those two were very integral in making it happen, and all the people that have supported it. I mean, it's been a couple-year project now, and it keeps building and building and building. And I would love for this thing just to catch on, and for it to be taught in schools, or do presentations on it. And I think it's a good way. I hope it's a good way and a fun way for the whole family to get involved. Because to me, at the end of the day, it's not mom's responsibility to grow the food. It's not dad's responsibility. It's not the kids. It's everybody. Everyone needs to take a more active role in where our food comes from, yes, and what we're putting in our bodies. And it's, remove the, do I want to do this? Do I not? You don't have a choice, right? It's just what you do. Like you get up, you brush your teeth in the morning. I don't think most people get up in the morning and say, I'm excited to brush my teeth. They just get up and they do it. Right? It's just, so, you can make it fun, you can make it enjoyable, and get the whole family involved. And I think in the long run, that is the goal of the project, to just get everyone involved more. Yeah,
I love that. And I love the idea of creating the family project. I remember when my kids were young, we had a little garden out in the backyard, and oh my gosh, the memories and the fun we had with that.
Yeah, so true. It's like, I mean, I remember running around my grandparents' backyard and picking grapes off the grapevine, or pulling a peach from the peach tree. And as a kid, I remember I didn't like peaches as a kid, and every time but thinking about it now, it's like, those were probably the best peaches I could have eaten, growing right in the backyard, it's like, so yeah, I think, and it won't take a lot, it'll take, if everyone did a little bit, it would make such a huge difference. And that is the goal. And I get asked a lot, well, what about the farmers? If everyone else starts growing their own food, aren't they going to lose their jobs, and that stuff? And it's like, I hope we can transition, because in the United States, we are lucky because we can eat foods year round that most of the other world can't. And a lot of our food is grown on the backs of poorer countries, and that's not sustainable. It's like, I mean, I could go to the grocery store right now and find tomatoes grown in South America, or shipped over from Europe and the such. And it's like, the journey that piece of fruit or that vegetable took to get onto my plate is insane. And it's like, what's that doing to those other countries that they have this bountiful crop, and now 80% of it gets shipped to the United States or another country, can they feed themselves? And I just read a statistic where they said 80% of the famines in the world over the last 20 or so years weren't due to lack of food. They're due to lack of money to pay for the food. So, we have all this food. I mean, how much food does the U.S. throw away every year, every day? It's like, and I think it's because we don't have a total vested interest in where that food comes from. I think I'd be more reluctant to throw away that mushy apple if I grew it in my backyard than if they're like, oh, it's just a bag of apples. So.
With my oldest son and his family, a couple of years ago, we went on a mission trip to Africa. And
cool.
It was so amazing and wonderful, but it's like, life-changing because, so many there don't know where their next meal's coming from. They don't have the supplies, It really makes you realize, oh my gosh, I'm not going to waste my food. I'm going to go to the farmer markets more often.
Right. Now, how many, because I'm curious, the messages you got back from them, that's something you instantly incorporated into your everyday life when you came back. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yes. I support students in different schools there. And so I went to meet some of the students. And
how cool.
So we weren't staying in nice hotels or anything. We were literally with the organization helping these. And do you know something I'll never, ever forget? I'm going to cry if I talk about it, but it really was an eye-opener for me. We would go to schools and we'd take food and supplies. My granddaughter, her class did a 3-month fundraiser and raised $7,000. And we literally took 7 suitcases. We bought stuff there, took stuff.
Oh my gosh.
We went to school and they had lunch was like a pot of not a pudding, but kind of a soup type thing. And like letting us dish it out. Now don't, fill the bowls too full. Well, I'm going, I want them to get a good meal. We ran out of food. And about 8 kids didn't get to have lunch. It's like, I was heartbroken, shocked. I said, you don't have anything you can give them? No, we don't.
Wow. That's incredible.
I'll never forget.
My gosh, what a powerful story.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's, really an eye-opener with how lucky we are.
We really are. We really are, and I think as a country, it's hard because we get bogged down with, the everyday things that take us out of that. But I think it's our responsibility to connect to that, to go back to that, because just like that story is so powerful. When I did that cruise ship gig, we were doing a run to the Caribbean. Every 7 days we were in all these little islands and stuff, and 70% of the little spots were owned by the cruise line, so they're all manicured, they look all nice and stuff. But I was like, this is boring. It's like I want to go see the city and and it was just poverty. These people living in tents, living in and we get warned, be careful, go with a friend, be back by this time, and you're just like, this is how these people live. This is it's like this, and it's not far. It's not. This is only off the coast of Florida. This is a typical Caribbean run. And it's just like it's crazy to me that there can be such disparity, and such a stark contrast. Shoot, I live in Los Angeles. I can go to downtown LA and see a beautiful concert hall and walk 3 blocks and see one of the biggest homeless encampments in the United States. It's like we're and it's like we can do better. We can bridge these gaps, and it's going to take a little bit of everyone getting involved. And I don't say that as people aren't involved now, but just getting involved differently, in different ways. And to me, since food is such a emotional thing, it's tied to holidays, it's tied to tradition, it's tied to all these big emotions.
Yes.
I think it's a good bridge to do that. And I mean, I learned that a lot of other cultures, they look at how the US talks about recycling and reusing, and they're like, duh, we've been doing that for centuries. Like, you don't need to tell us. You're the ones wasting all the food, not us, It's like, so that, in a nutshell, that's what I want the Corn Man Project to do. I want, these ideas. And that to me, and a bigger message, is the purpose of art. It's the purpose of music, to inspire people. And I don't know what direction they're going to go. I don't know. It might not even be food. It could be in a totally different environmental realm somewhere. But if I could be any part of that, then to me, I feel like the project is helping do what I hope it would do.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Inspiration and caring is everything. We have about 2 minutes left. Okay. Charles, what last words, even though what you just said was fantastic and powerful, what last words do you want to add to that before we say goodbye?
Well, I guess just to wrap it all up, I'll end with what I hope the project will accomplish again. It's like, I want all of us to start checking those food labels. I want all of us to hopefully start growing a little bit of our own food, but I don't want us to beat ourselves up for it either. I don't want us to feel like if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, you're not doing enough. It's like, we all have to start where we start. And those small steps make a huge difference. They make a huge difference. So, we could go from checking food labels to growing our own food to community gardens. And I want that coupled with the arts and the music programs back in schools, back in kids' lives, because I think if we can tie those two things together, what will be produced will be beyond anything I could think of now. Because I work with students all the time, and they blow me away with how smart they are, their capabilities, their capacity. And it's just like, my gosh, I think we don't give them enough credit. And I think if we can maybe just inspire them a little bit more and say, it's all right, just create, see where that goes. So that's the goal.
I love it. Share with everyone one more time, if you would, your website.
Sure. You can go to charleswiley.net/cornman. There it is right there on the back of that.
I love it.
And that's the book, again, if anyone's interested. It's on Amazon. You can click the links on my website as well. All the information is there. If you have any questions, I'm on all the social medias. Well, not all. I take just Instagram and Facebook, but you can message me there. Yeah, I'd love to hear from any of your listeners. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I can't thank you enough. It really means a lot.
This has been so wonderful. Everybody out there, thank you for joining us today. Love, hugs, and blessings. Charles, love, hugs, and blessings.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.